Gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show, live here on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channels. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, make sure to check us out on Twitter first at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And while you're over on the Twitter page, make sure to check out the link tree in our bio. It will take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout any of our shows here or catch any of our DSM pre-game lives, they stream exclusively on the YouTube channel. So check out that YouTube link. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, do whatever you got to do, but we greatly appreciate that as well. I am one half of your host this morning, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. You can find him as well at Scotty Drowned. Today, kind of a laid-back show, man. Still kind of going through the motions, reeling from the Sixers season being over, getting into some off-season talk and all that good stuff. But the Phillies finally win a series at home against the Cubs, taking 2 out of 3 against the Cubbies. So we're going to talk about that, talk about a struggling team looking to find some consistency. James Harden, reportedly, there's an appetite quote from Brian Windhorst around the league.
They're hungry.
That James Harden is going to be getting that 4-year max extension from somewhere. So would you give, this is the question of the day, would you give James Harden the 4-year, $210 million extension that the Philadelphia 76ers are eligible to give him? If not, what is the alternative? Philly Eagles fan not giving him that contract. But Scotty, my man, what's going on this Monday?
Hey, happy Monday, man. Just trying to get the eye boogies out of my eyes, man. Still waking up here. And the allergies are flowing around this time of season. But, yeah, happy Monday. It was a decent weekend, I would say, with the Phillies, grabbing 2 of 3, as Brett alluded to. Celtics down 0-3. Now, I'm not some huge Heat fan, but it sure feels good to see the Celtics down that much and down pretty bad. But, yeah, man, it was honestly kind of a stress-free weekend, I would say. Phillies, of course, they lost 10-1 on Friday, so that wasn't a great start to the weekend. But then they came back to life on Saturday and Sunday. They were able to win that series against the Cubs, and ultimately, no Sixers basketball, so no room for letdown. And take that for what it is, right? Like, I didn't have to sit here and watch the Sixers struggle. I didn't have to sit here and watch them melt down in the fourth quarter and give up a game 6 at home. So it was a pretty good weekend. I got some working out in, had a few drinks yesterday, and relaxed for once.
Listen, man, it's funny sitting here, obviously talking about some of the offseason stuff. And I know we used the word exhausted the show after we lost in 7 to the Boston Celtics. I'm just like fatigued at this point. Like, I'm worn out because as a fan, you can only handle and you can only take so much. And when you have a World Series loss in November, followed by a Super Bowl loss in February, followed by this disaster in May, I guess my point is, like, we sit here and we try to look forward. We try to push forward and what can they do to improve? And the James Harden extension, it's like, for what? to be a second round exit again? Like, God damn, it hurts, but we will continue to push through. Let's start right here, man. Let's start with the question of the day. Scotty, personally, at face value, would you be comfortable? Not comfortable, because I don't think we're going to be comfortable either direction the Sixers go in terms of James Harden. Would you be okay giving James Harden the 4-year, $210 million max extension the Sixers can offer him? Other teams can only offer him 4 years, 201.9, whatever it is, $1 million. Are you okay giving that to him?
It's a tough question, man. It's a tough question. I've had all weekend to think about this too,
and I still don't have an answer. I still don't have like a
clear answer. I'm, hell no. It isn't like that. But I would say, man, I've been kind of leaning towards not signing him. I think I've kind of been leaning towards like that realization that he's not coming back. I've kind of been trying to work myself through that. Man, it's tough to think to give him that in how old would he be at that time in 4 years?
By the
38,
end of it, he'd be
37?
38.
Yeah, and he's not LeBron. And so
No.
that's the worry there, right? Like the first 2 years, sure, you can pay him $50 million a year just because contracts are inflated, everything's inflated in the United States right now. So if he gets paid $50 million a year, he literally led the league in assists last season. That's fine. But it's when you get into that third, fourth year, you're talking about 36, 37, 38 years old. And the way James Harden looks and the way James Harden applies himself off the court, he's not going to be in great shape at that age. Like, I'm sorry, unless he stops going to the clubs and doing this and flying there and actually working on his game and staying in the gym full time. Similar to a LeBron. Everybody talks about LeBron, but LeBron takes care of his body, man. He was quoted spending over $1 million to take care of his body. And I just don't think James Harden's going to those lengths to do that. No. And it shows on the court, right? There's nights where he looks fatigued. He looks out of it. He looks uninterested. He looks unmotivated or uninspired and really just can't do much some nights. But then other nights he's, back to James Harden's superstar status. So it's like, if you're going to be getting hit and miss James Harden where it's extremes and then really extreme highs and then really extreme lows, that's only going to get worse as he gets older. You're going to start seeing more of those down games,
right?
And less of those high scoring or, even the games where he gets you 27 and 12. You're going to see less of that as he gets older. So I don't know, man. You talk about him from that stance, and that's just the offensive angle.
Yeah. Then
you look at him on defense, and that's where it gets really sketchy because now you're talking about a liability on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And on top of that, man, like Joel, we got Joel locked in for 3 more years, I guess, like guaranteed salary. He just got that extension maybe a year or two ago. So when you look at it like that, you got about 2 years. So it's like that 4-year contract doesn't even really fit that window for Embiid, in my opinion.
Right. Unless you could punt that contract off down the road.
That's the one key there.
Championship window is if you don't win it within the next 2 to 3 years in that championship window with Joel Embiid, I mean, by that time, bro, Joel's going to be 33 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
7-foot center with his injury history, like Joel Embiid is not going to be MVP Joel Embiid in 4 years from now, in 3 years from now.
And then this is the other thing, and I'll punt it back to you.
Yeah.
I'll give you my final stance on it, and then just another detractor for signing Harden back. I know, and we don't know what Maxey is. I understand that we can't bank that Maxey's going to become this superstar or all-star guard. But I would argue, while Harden does make things easier on Maxey, it also stunts Maxey's growth if we ever want him to be a point guard. Like, if we ever want him to run an offense, it's stunning his development and his growth. And that would be one more detractor. I would tell you this, man. My final diagnosis, I would stay in the negotiations. We'll see how it plays out. If other teams will offer him that amount.
Because it definitely could just be
smoke.
Right.
Exactly. It could be that. And if it's that,
posturing,
if we could get him on a 3-year deal, yes, I'll do it all day. And you just ride out and you see what you can do with that unit. But as of right now, based on the 4-year, $200+ million contract, I think the best case scenario would be a sign and trade with another team and just not losing him for nothing. I think you look at Harden and his relationship with Morey, that may be something he's willing to do, is force somebody into a sign and trade. Like, hey, I'm going to take this extra $9 million I can get from Philadelphia, get that $210 million contract. Then you guys trade for me and give them something back so Morey doesn't lose everything. Who knows? They don't usually do favors like that, but you never know.
I just don't know which team outside of the Phoenix Suns is handicapped enough to actually trade for him.
Right.
Like, if you're the Houston Rockets, if he chooses, hey, I'm going to sign with Philly, but you can sign and trade me. Why would Houston do that? Giving up that's when he could. So,
unless we threaten them with tampering charges. That's one way around it. But
Chili's saying, do not give him the money unless it's a sign and trade. Philly Eagles fan, We're not getting Houston Harden anymore. Take one step back next season to take two forward. And that's what kind of this negotiation, that's kind of what this deal comes down from, man. Are you punting on the 2023 season if you're Daryl Morey and the 76ers? Because if he does not come back and the type of cap situation you are in next year, the 76ers are not competing for a title next year. It's not in the cards. I know we love Tyrese Maxey. He would be the second option. He can continue to develop. It would be Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, which, yes, I know it's 2 years further down the line for Maxey than the year that Ben held them hostage, which is essentially what you had then, and a bunch of role guys.
Yeah.
Ain't getting you to an NBA Finals. It ain't getting you over that second round hump. Here's the thing, man. No one wants to see consistent winner James Harden here in Philadelphia more than me. And I know there's some Twitter accounts out there that are just the biggest,
it's weird,
troll stan accounts you could ever imagine that think they are the biggest fan. No. I wanted James Harden to get us over this hump so bad because you and I would come do these shows last year knowing he was injured, knowing he could bounce back, while everyone last season in the postseason tried to say that he was washed, tried to say that Daryl Morey got fleeced, yada, yada, yada. You want him to succeed, you get this. Here's the two sides of the fence I'm on. A, if you let him walk, what is the alternative?
Yeah.
What is the alternative for next year? Because like I said, we're probably punting on the season. And then what's the plan moving forward? Your cap opens up. Are you moving to buy? Like, so there's a lot to get into. Like, what's the alternative? Are you okay with not tanking a season, but throwing a season? The Sixers themselves will know they have no shot at winning a title if they head into next season with this roster and a couple more role players. So I want him back for that reason. However, I'm very close to saying what KC said up here in the comments. I'm very close because you talked about him on the offensive end and the defensive end, and that is all very true. Yeah. If I got this James Harden at age 33, 34, why the hell would I want to see James Harden play basketball at age 37, 38? You're going to get less consistency. You're going to get more of the 9-point, 2 for 14 type of shooting nights than you are the 45, 17 for 30 type of shooting nights.
Yeah.
But I say I'm leaning towards this because I'm looking at him up here. And not the off the court, like you alluded to, that's going to play into his body and his conditioning moving forward as he gets older. But I could care less if he goes and parties and blah, 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 blah. I'm looking at him up here because, my man, didn't you say the only thing that matters at this stage of your career is winning?
Yeah.
And you're going to try to hold the Sixers hostage for the max deal by threatening to go back to the Houston Rockets?
Yeah.
The Houston Rockets?
Yeah.
Who, I hate to break it to you, did not get the number 1 pick and will not be getting Wembanyama? Or however you pronounce his name. Think I got it correct? So, to me, I'm looking at him up here and I'm saying, how much does this dude care about winning? And then I go back and I look at the tape and I watch game 6 and I watch game 7 and I say, what is this dude's ticker?
Yeah.
What does this dude care about winning?
Yeah.
And then I go back to last year when he took this team-friendly deal to help bring his boys in, right?
Yeah.
He brought in PJ
Complete
Tucker. He brought in Daniel House. He wanted to help his friend Daryl Morey. He wanted to help Joel Embiid in the city of Philadelphia by taking less because at this stage of his career, all that matters is winning, and I've already made my hundreds of millions, and now bring me the team I need. And one sad, sorry, playoff-ending season later, James Harden is back to the old shit of needing his money. I'm not saying he shouldn't go after his money, but my man, if you look in the mirror honestly and think after what you just did against Boston equates to a 4-year, $200+ million extension, you are the world's biggest joke.
Yeah.
I know everybody he should want the $210 million. But to have this hero persona last offseason, look at it. We talked about it. I thought he was a great teammate. I thought he was proving everybody else wrong. And one sorry playoff bounce later, he's back to the old shit. To the rumors, to the leaks, to the smoke about where he's going to go. And, he's so ready to go back to Houston. Go back to Houston, James. I do not want James Harden in a 76ers uniform if I am getting 2 for 14 James Harden. If I'm getting 9-point James Harden. If I'm getting Ben Simmons in the fourth quarter again, James Harden. Scotty,
he's turning into Ben Simmons very quickly in this city, man.
Literally the only reason I lean towards bringing him back is 2 things. A, I'm scared of the alternative. I don't know what the grass looks like on the other side. That's why this is the devil, right? James is the devil we know. Maybe they get whatever. Then it's the coach situation, right? Maybe a new coach, whether it's D'Antoni with the offensive mind, the relationship, whether it's Nick Nurse with the adjustments and all that stuff. Maybe James really, I don't know. Maybe they could get the most out of Joel and James and we run it back. I just don't know what the alternative is. And it makes me say, you know what? You almost kind of have to bring him back. But why do we have to bring him back if we're going to get Game 7 James Harden? If we're going to get Game 6 James Harden?
That's the thing. If you can, it's such a tough situation, man. You're spot on because the thing is, you're not going to win the championship if he doesn't come back. But if he does come back, are you going to win the championship? And that's where the question gets really, really gray, right? And you just don't know. It's not black or white. He obviously would give you the best chance at a championship coming out of this offseason if you bring him back. But then again, what is that percentage versus every other team that's out there ready to contend? And that's what I'm looking at here, man. Like you said, that ticker, the heart, right? He's like the 10 man, like it's really odd, bro. Like to see him melt down, and Embiid's in that conversation as well, but we're not talking about Embiid right now. It's James Harden. And just to see him kind of quit in that series was just disturbing, whether that's because Doc Rivers or whatever. If you love the game of basketball, you just don't do things like that. And that's where it, comes to me. I wanted to point this out, and I know I sent this message to you. And this is what kind of it is. It's like you said, just go back to Houston then, James. Like, forget it. You know what I mean? Like fuck it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it's at for me. This quote from him back in December, man, talking about Houston. It's funny. I never even heard this back in December. I knew about the rumors, the smoke of him going back to Houston. It was definitely in the air there. I think it dropped on Christmas Day that he was, looking at going back
I know
to
what you're
Houston.
talking about.
He said, the love and feelings are mutual. That's never going to change. Like I said, I still own my home there. A lot of family still lives there. That feeling won't change. What I meant by the game is obviously there's no greater win or loss in Houston compared to other places, but having that family environment around me is a little different. What that makes me, what it sounds like, he just wants to be comfortable, right? And it's almost like he wants to coast off into the end of his career. And that's what I don't understand, Dylan, is like what switch flipped since last offseason when he took that deal to help bring in PJ Tucker. And that's the other side of it, bro. We brought in PJ Tucker and we brought in we brought in all these Houston guys and he's just going to leave, right? He's just going to leave PJ Tucker on our squad and he's not going to be there. That's the really weird part. We know the bond that he supposedly created with Joel. Now it's, I got to be me. I need my freedom. And it's just like, it's like he's like bipolar or something. I don't know. It's very, very odd, man. And what it leads me to say, because it's like, can you win the championship if James Harden comes back anyways? And I don't know that we can. I would lean towards no, honestly, right now.
Right.
With that being said, you would get your new coach in here. You would have one season for him to figure out what's best for Maxey and Embiid going forward. You get Tobias out of here as well. Obviously, that contract needs to go. Then you get into next offseason and you have a max slot and you can go out and get a superstar of your choice. The only thing with that is how does Joel Embiid feel about that?
Right, that's my point.
That's where that question
you're
comes
kicking
in.
the can down the road.
Yeah.
With Joel Embiid's career here, and again, guys, like I know we're all mad at him, and some trade him, stop
Yeah,
with that.
no, I'm not to that point.
But you just keep pushing the can down the road here, and now Joel's another year older, and maybe he's another injury deeper, and at some point, this dominant style, this dominant level of play is going to start to deteriorate from Joel Embiid's career. Like at age 32, 33, that like 7-footers with his injury history, he's not Joel Embiid's not playing at a high level till he's 38 years old, until he's 37 years old. So you are looking to the next 3 or so years here. And I would agree with you, man. Like Harden on paper gives you the best chance to win. But I would say this, if you bring him back, and Joel's involved in this conversation as well after his Game 7 meltdown, but if you bring them back and you run it back with a new coach, you trade Tobias for some role players, you definitely have a better shot than Maxey and Joel and role players. But the regular season means nothing to me next year.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the calendar year to circle back around to now and see, because what does it matter if I get 23 and 10 James Harden in the regular season? I just got that.
Yeah.
What does it matter if Joel Embiid finally gets that elusive MVP? I just got that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I also just got the same ending to a very familiar movie that I was hoping would change, and it didn't. And that's kind of why I am this fatigued fan, man.
Yeah, and it is.
I agree, Casey.
Man.
I completely agree. I just, again, I'm more so just scared of the alternative. If you decide to move on, you know, are we just punting on this season? And then if so, man, like that's just depressing, is it not?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I feel like I'm higher on Maxey than you are. And I do think very highly of Maxey, and there's part of me that wants that development. And honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, there's part of me that wants him to get the keys to the offense and see what he can do. I think
I'm not disagreeing.
We're on the brink of having to extend him. You know what I mean? Like, we have to figure out if he is a guy or not. And he's young. He's obviously worth figuring that out. But he's coming up on an extension. He's coming up on the end of his rookie year deal. So these are all things I'm looking at. I don't know. I'm going to do this, though, just to make it interesting. I'm looking up who are the top free agents going into the 2024 offseason. Because that is ultimately, that's the other side of the conversation. Sure if you are waiting, if you're going to kick Harden out of Philly, whatever, if Harden's going back to Houston, you're not getting anything, he's not coming back. Who is the guy that you're targeting in 2024, right? Who's that?
It kind of alludes to Hunter's comment here. And I don't disagree. Like, I don't think Harden is that piece either after what we just witnessed in the postseason. But I would just say, like, you're not getting whatever that piece is. You're not getting that this year.
Yeah.
So are you okay as a Sixer fan to just punt this season away?
Yeah. I can't say that, right? Like I just can't say that I'm okay with putting the season away.
Yeah.
It honestly depends on Joel Embiid. How does he feel about that? You know, and it depends on Harden. I mean, if he gets that deal to go back to Houston, what can we do about it? Is kind of what I'm thinking. And you know, if he wants to go back to Houston, if all signs are pointing to that. If you know, like Chile said,
I promise you, I'm going to be the bitter X if he leaves, and not bitter because I wanted him back. I'm going to be the bitter X in terms of if his decision is to leave us, I turn into good. Get the fuck out of here. like even though I'm not completely against him staying, if he decides to go that route on his own terms, I'm gonna not be livid, but I'm gonna be displeased in the character of James Harden, even though I should have no expectations, high expectations for the character of James Harden after what we've seen. I don't know. I would just, It would make me laugh, man. It would really
I
make me laugh.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this list of free agents for next
It's
year,
a
and
deeper class, right?
it's not super appealing, man.
No?
Like, look, it's Klay Thompson,
No.
Tobias Harris,
Eh.
Chris Middleton, which I'm not sure if he might be a free agent this year. They also got
Yeah.
James Harden listed as a free agent for next year, but that's with no deal right now. Pascal Siakam, Kristaps Porzingis,
No.
DeMar DeRozan. The only player that would ever be worth that is Jaylen Brown. He's a free agent next year. That's the only player, and is he going to come to Philadelphia? I would highly doubt that. So,
all right, man. Let's do this.
I don't know. That's a tough one, man.
So,
Do you have to trade for someone?
After 25 minutes of talking this through with you, I have come to the conclusion that I have not come to a conclusion yet. I am still at where I was before. Ultimately, when it comes to the James Harden thing, if I had to give you an answer for this question, would I give it to him? No. I would hope that this is posturing. I would hope that he wants to continue to try to win, and I would hope that he can come back on maybe a 2 or 3 year deal, maybe a 3 year deal, because I know he wants the longer contract, a 3 or 4 year deal, but for less money.
Yeah,
we can have that conversation. But it's ultimately going to be a waiting game for me, and it's going to turn into, whatever the Sixers kind of do, you talk yourself into being the right move. If they bring Harden back, I'm sure we're going to talk ourselves somewhere down the line, maybe not immediately, but somewhere down the line, we're going to say, you know what? Let's run it back with a new head coach. Let's see what you can get. And the second James Harden steps on the floor in 2023 in the regular season and has a 30-point night, we're going to be like, oh, he still has it. But if he leaves, fuck him. And we'll move on from there.
The regular season's going to be draining next year, man. I will say that. It's going to be draining because
it's going to be tough.
You said it means nothing.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to analyze because while I'm a true believer, you and I said it to people last year, man, like all the Sixers critics and haters of the regular season, it's like, why are you watching then? Like, not why are you watching, but why are you analyzing each win and loss then? Because you're just going to come to the same conclusion. When they win, you're silent. When they lose, you think you're proving your point. But now I'm at the point where, like, I don't care how many games they win the regular season. Yeah. I don't care if they're a top 3 seed. I don't care if they're the 6th seed. I do not care. Matchups clearly don't matter anymore. Seeding doesn't matter anymore. Regular season numbers don't matter anymore.
Building winning tendencies, like, it does not matter. Like, I talked about that all season, just building winning tendencies, playing the right way, making the right plays, and still get to the postseason, and they totally revert back to themselves.
I would say
crazy.
This to move on before we wrap up with the Phillies. Talk about this Heat Celtics series for a second. Obviously, the Heat take a commanding 3-0 series lead last night. They had a 25 to 30 point lead for almost the entire second half. It was actually unbelievable to watch. But this is what hurts about the thought of punting next season, Scotty, because it's not just Joel Embiid's health and career and championship window here in Philadelphia. I'm looking at the landscape of the East, and there's cracks in the foundation, man. Yeah. The Boston Celtics, and this is what makes it hurt more, right? Like, Chili, I agree. Like, it feels like, oh, it should be us, and it feels like we wouldn't be down 3-0 to this Heat team. But I would say it makes the Celtics loss more embarrassing because after Game 7, we kind of sat back and said, well, they're the best team in the league. They're the odds-on favorites to win. They're dominant. They're this. I was going to say they stink. They don't stink. They took our lunch money in Game 7, but they are in trouble, man. Those flaws, those deficiencies we saw in Sixers wins last series, where we said the late game turnovers and the bad offense and the coaching by Joe Mazzulla, that's all true. We just couldn't take advantage of it. So I look at that. I look at the Bucks getting swept in the first round. I look at the rest of the opponents in terms of Brooklyn, what they're going to do moving forward. I look at Cleveland. Well, they got beaten 5, and, how much better can they get on paper? I look at the New York Knicks. I don't really care about. So the Hawks. I go around the East. Miami's the 8th seed, for Christ's sake. Like, the time is you have an opportunity right now to come out of the Eastern Conference in the next 2 or 3 years, and it's looking like you're falling down the list instead of climbing to the top of it.
What I would say to, I guess devil's advocate to what you're saying there, because I agree with what you're saying, because you look throughout the East, like you said, Bucks. While I'm looking at the Sixers, I'm thinking, we got a new coach. We're going to have to use a year anyways to figure out the new coach and get everything working the way it's supposed to with him. But the Bucks are doing the same exact thing, right? They're getting a new coach. Right. Chris Middleton, is he going to be there? Is Drew Holiday going to be there next season? Celtics, they lose this series, gentleman's sweep or swept. Is Jaylen Brown staying on this team, right? Are they firing Joe Mazzulla? They better. I mean, my God. But that's what we're looking at, right? What happens with Al Horford? He's old. What happens with Marcus Smart? Do you keep him on the roster? Malcolm Brogdon was great this year. I've seen Derek White in trade mocks for Celtics fans already. So big changes there. And then you look at the Miami Heat, man. The Miami Heat would be the one team where you look at and you're like, well, if anything, they'll probably get better, right? They'll probably maybe get rid of Kyle Lowry and get somebody better than him, get rid of Kevin Love, get somebody better than him. But with Miami, I think they show you that you don't have to sign James Harden back. And the reason I say that is because you got guys like Gabe Vincent scoring 29 points last night. In game 2, you had Caleb
Duncan
Martin.
Robinson was out of the rotation.
Now he's getting double-digit games, right? 22 last night. Game before that, you had Caleb Martin with 25, 26 points in that game, knocking down threes. Right. So while Jimmy is that dog and he is that leader, it shows you need those role players that are also dogs with the same mentality and that can do these things. So it is an interesting concept because the Miami Heat, they like debunk a lot of different like trends, projections.
That's where I would play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate there. Are they just the exception? Are they just the outliers? Eric Spoelstra, the best coach in the NBA by a wide margin, and no matter who we bring in, there's still going to be that coaching difference.
Yeah,
that Heat culture, right? So I do agree with you, man. When you look at it that way, when you look at the layout, the blueprint that Miami's giving you, I could feel what you're saying. Like, okay, like if we have Joel would be the best player on the floor. Yeah. Right. If you have Maxey with his development and, you trade Tobias and you move this and you sign this and now you're loaded with a couple solid two-way role players. It's like, man, like you could have a shot.
But you just know Philly's not going to win like that. Like they're just not going to win like that. They have to have more talent.
Unless whatever head coach comes in, and again, I'm knock on wood, I hope it's Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse, yeah, he would be the one guy.
Culture setter. Unless it has that much of a drastic change. That's the only way, man.
He would be the one guy. He would be the one outlier.
The last thing, it's so frustrating watching this series. And luckily I had the over last night, so I was very happy that the Celtics almost crushed it for me. But I was happy that that the G League players could come in and just start banging threes in the fourth quarter. But man, it's like you can't sit here and tell me, well, it's coaching and it's the Heat defense. It is so effing frustrating to watch what Boston did offensively in Game 7 and Tatum and Brown and Brogdon and this and that, and they can't miss. And I'm watching Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown in the last 2 games is
horrible.
1 for 14 or 1 for 15 from 3. Jason Tatum was 1 for 7 last night. Malcolm Brogdon was 0 for 6 from the floor last night. I'm watching Derek White, man. I'm watching a point in the third quarter for the Boston Celtics where this game is officially starting to get out of hand. And they're chucking threes. It's Grant Williams. It's Jason Tatum. It's Jaylen Brown. They're airballing threes. They're grazing the rim. Where was this, you assholes? You couldn't miss in Game 7.
Bro, I just looked it up as you said those Jaylen Brown numbers because I know that he's played like shit in this series.
He cooked us, bro.
2 for 20 from the 3-point line in this series, bro. Are you fucking kidding me?
That has
Like, are you
nothing to do
kidding
with
me?
That's the frustrating part. It's not like, oh, Miami's locking him up.
2
He
for
was
20.
Superman against Philly, and now he couldn't score. He can't score on Gabe Vincent or Kevin Love.
Marcus Smart across 3 games against the Heat. 28 points across 3 games. This man was dropping 20-point games against the Sixers. I'm telling you, he had like
What's Brogdon have?
But he had MJ moments with some of those jumps.
Oh, I know. What's
Mid-range
Brogdon
jump
have
shots.
this
Like, are
series?
we kidding? Huh?
What's Brogdon have this series?
Oh my God, Brogdon, dude. Yeah, let's see.
I mean,
I think, and they took Robert Williams out of the starting lineup last night too. They had to adjust back. Brogdon, he had 19 and 13. So he had 19 last night. So he was there. Or no, excuse me.
No.
19 in game 1, 13 in game 2, 0 last night.
Okay.
Big O for last night. So
he
it's
averaged
crazy,
over
right?
20 off the bench versus Sixers. So he has had 1 game out of 3 that was even semi close to his average. Jason Tatum hasn't hit a fourth quarter field goal in any of the 3 first games.
It's a fourth quarter.
And my man had a 16-point fourth quarter in game 6 versus 76ers. Stop, bro. Like that's the annoying part. And like I know I sound like a naggy fan, an annoying fan, but it really that is some NBA 2K type of shit when you're playing against like the CPU, man. Like you guys could not win against us. Role players, stars, blah blah, whatever. And you can't touch Duncan Robinson and Max Strus.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent. Bam Adebayo looks like Superman on the floor against them. And listen, man, I know.
Great.
I understand.
It's crazy.
I understand it has to do with the type of player Jimmy is versus Joel. I understand it has a lot to do with coaching and spacing and off-ball movement and cutting and all of that stuff.
Man.
But to watch the Boston Celtics double team and sometimes triple team and throw the kitchen sink at Joel Embiid and change their starting lineup to go after Joel Embiid. But to allow Grant Williams to guard Jimmy Butler one-on-one, possession after possession after possession after possession, while he takes both games in Boston from you, like what? Where was that? I know they're different players. I know Spoelstra's probably, if you pay attention to the small things and the details, Spoelstra's probably got this moving and that moving and this over here, whereas we're just standing around the perimeter and watching Joel and the ball. Yeah. I understand that all has to do with it, but man,
I'm telling you, what has to happen, Joel, Maxey, if Harden's here next year, whatever, these guys, they got to go. I don't know if they need to do like the Aaron Rodgers thing where they go in a dark room and just be by themselves and get their minds right, but they have to turn into killers, man. That's what it comes down to, I think.
Hold on.
You look at Jimmy Butler, right?
I was going to bring this up next. I completely agree with you. But I do want to point out, after watching what Miami's doing to Boston, we deserve every right to be upset and disappointed and critique and criticize Joel Embiid and the Sixers and James Harden for Game 7. But I do think that we're not totally wrong because they 100% lacked that killer instinct in that moment.
Yeah.
But what did we say on the other side of things? Tatum, one's a killer, one's not. Tatum's a killer, Joel's not. We overreact in the moment. Now look at Jason Tatum. Now look at Jaylen Brown. Miami doesn't have it. They have one killer, Jimmy Butler. They don't have a bunch of killers, right? Everybody's stepping up, but they have one, right? So
he's
it's
the biggest dog in the NBA, man.
You know
I think that's what it is.
I know we're down and it's all doom and gloom surrounding Joel right now, and you and I are sitting here like none of this matters until next postseason, and I agree with that still.
Yeah.
But watching this definitely takes some of the weight off of it because it's like, all right, You know what I mean? You get the
Yeah,
point I'm trying to
I mean,
say,
at
like,
the time, Dylan, I realized like in that series against the Celtics, like while I did consider them the best team in the NBA overall, they're one of the deeper teams. It's like I looked at that series and I was thinking that's the series that the Celtics choked. Like they gave us that series to take, and we just choked way harder than they did. And they were ultimately able to take it, but I just got it wrong in the fact that I thought that was the one time that they were going to choke this postseason.
right.
They're actually
Yeah,
choking
I'm
even
with you.
harder against Miami. But I think, you look at that game too, because game 2 could have went to the Boston Celtics easily. Could have been their W. I think they were up 9 when Grant Williams did that thing with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler goes head to head with this man after an and 1. Like, we just need that energy. Like, I don't know how you can manifest that with this team on the Sixers, but like when somebody starts talking shit on the other team, Joel can't just sit there and just, like he just doesn't say anything. Like we almost need that trolling, like that other energy from Joel that he used to have, but on a more mature and aggressive manner.
Yeah.
And I think he just needs to translate that energy because I see what he's tried to do. He's tried to be emotionless this season. He's tried to kind of garner that in and not be as immature or as much of a troll or all the celebrations, right? And that's fine. I think that's fair. But I think it's when you have guys challenging you, you get physical. Al Horford's out here bulking up and celebrating. That's the type of stuff that can't happen. And that's where a leader needs to step up, get a bucket, and then make some
I
noise
agree.
and
I
turn the
also
energy.
I'm going to look at it
But
from the other point of view real quick, and I need
arms to Horford.
Yeah. I need to send out a PSA to role players.
Yeah.
And not even just role players, like below average type of role players.
Yeah.
As the great Dwayne
Drafted.
Johnson, aka The Rock in WWE, once said, know your role and shut your mouth. Scotty, do you know what the first thing that came to my mind when Grant Williams did that with Jimmy Butler?
What?
Oh my God, if this was the 76ers, the equivalent to that is like George Niang.
George Niang.
poking
He
the
would
bear.
do it. He would do
Shut
it.
your effing mouth, bro.
George Niang won't be back.
You would be shipped right out of Philadelphia that night. If
Yeah.
Joel Embiid, hell, James Harden, whatever, if one of the stars
Yeah.
wanted to battle with Jimmy and there was a little elbow and shoving but whatever.
That's fine.
It's star versus star. You don't finally get some minutes. Grant Williams finally started to get some run. Bangs 1-3 in Jimmy Butler's mitt. And wakes the dragon. What are you doing, bro? If that was a 76ers bench player that poked the star of the other team, and then not only that said star went on to give the same role player 7 straight. Maybe that's why Joe Mazzulla let him guard him one-on-one. Scotty, maybe that's why. Because he's like, here, man, you got to learn your lesson.
Yeah, you're gonna get your ass cooked. And then the other side of that is like, damn, Jaylen Brown nor Jason Tatum.
And I would say
out Grant Williams.
Niang grabbed the knee, and that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know, like Brown didn't start to go off after that.
No.
Niang wasn't guarding Brown one-on-one, and he went off. It was just like, man,
It's crazy, Jaylen Brown, the different versions of this man, because he shot 54% against us on this series, 43% from 3 against Miami. He's shooting 37% from the floor, 10% from 3,
wow,
2 for 20.
awesome.
Unreal, man, unreal.
All right, Scotty, before we wrap up this Monday episode, guys, quick shout out to our sponsors over at Manscaped. Check them out at manscaped.com and use our promo code DSM for 20% off plus free shipping. Again, that is promo code DSM, all caps, at checkout for 20% off your total order plus free shipping. Let them know that your friends at DSM sent you. Your balls will certainly thank you. Absolutely, Jimmy Buckets is definitely real. He's like an entity. It makes no sense what he does what he's doing regular season to postseason it's unprecedented, man. It just I've never seen a switch like it. But anyway, last quick segment of the day: the Phillies take 2 out of 3 over the weekend at home against the Chicago Cubs. They find themselves, what are we now, Scotty? 22-24 on the season, I believe.
Yeah,
2 games
22-24.
below 500. And it's like, man, again, I used the word fatigue earlier on. And yes, that has a lot to do with the Sixers, but the Phillies are playing a small role in that hand as well, because I'm happy that they won I'm happy that they won the series. You got a little winning streak. Let's see if we can push this momentum forward. I believe we have Arizona next, and then you have 2 division rivals in the Braves and the Mets on the road coming up, which is going to be huge. So now is another opportunity to garner the fans' attention and my attention. But goddamn, Scotty, if it wasn't May, if you didn't know it's May, all you had to do was look at the Phillies win streak and losing streaks. I mean, 4-game win streak, 5-game losing streak, 5-game winning streak, 4-game losing streak, 2-game winning streak, 3-game losing streak. It's unbelievable the consistently inconsistent play that we're getting from the Phillies. They have a lot of flaws, man, and that's kind of where I'm at right here. Like, all right, let me try to phrase this as best I can. I'm not out on the Phillies by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
You're 2 games below 500. You're right. You were just the first wild card seed a week ago. I'm not done with the Philadelphia Phillies. My point is, like, you have issues in your rotation. You have injuries and you have depth issues.
Yeah.
And right now you have issues finding a steady lineup. The lineup is the one thing that is the light at the end of the tunnel for me, because I know Trey Turner got the day off the other day, and my God, whatever happened to World Baseball Classic Trey Turner to regular season Phillies Trey Turner is a mystery that I don't know that the world's greatest detective could solve. But with the lineup, they're too good not to figure it out, Scotty. They're going to go through these ups and downs. It's just what a streaky lineup's going to do. It's what streaky hitters, power hitters are going to do. But if this is a consistent 1 through 9 with Rob Thompson's lineup, they're too good not to go on a run, right?
Yeah.
It's the pitching staff that worries me. It's the pitching staff that concerns me moving forward. I know Brett made a comment right here, no more about Bailey Falter, thank God. But it's like when you make that move, and it was deserving. I could not stand watching Bailey Falter pitch. Taijuan Walker, and now shout out to him because he got through almost 5 complete innings yesterday with some good ball, but he just had a pitch on 3 days rest for the first time in his career. Like, Ranger Suarez, again, just came back, needs time to figure it out. He struggled in his first 2 opportunities back. Taijuan Walker has, outside of yesterday, been a disaster to start this year. Bailey Falter, sent down. Aaron Nola, up and down. Zach Wheeler, up and down. They have consistency issues in the rotation. Yeah. And again, this is one of those, I'm going to sit back as a fan, and I'm going to let you prove to me that you can start to be consistent. Yeah. Because until then, I'm not going to come on here and overanalyze each and every win and loss, because I don't know what the hell this team is right now.
Yeah.
I need them to start showing me consistency.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, man. Too many wild card type of situations going on right now. And the main thing for me, man, is that, I shouldn't say the main thing, but one of the main things for me is that Trey Turner shouldn't be one of those wild cards. He was supposed to bring stability to this lineup. He is not the biggest power hitter, right? He's a guy that gets on base. He's a guy that can get runs in, right? He can get around the bases. He can steal bases, and he just doesn't look comfortable, if that makes sense. And I think that's the biggest worry for me. Now, you got plenty of time to get comfortable, right? You get Bryce Harper back in the lineup. That should help with from a leadership standpoint.
You got 10 years to get comfortable.
Yeah. Great way to put it. But yes, that's exactly where we are, man. So may as well make your bed and get comfortable in it. But I think you're spot on. They're 7-10 in the month of May, so it shows you how inconsistent they are. Obviously, coming off a 2-1 series win against the Cubs, 4th in the NL East. So as you mentioned, that Braves series, Mets series coming up, going to be huge towards getting back in that race, right? Yep. Getting out of 4th place, and moving up those ranks a bit. But there are a few bright spots too. So that's what brings the inconsistency within the consistency. Yeah. You know, they're consistently inconsistent, as you mentioned. Because Bryson Stott's played really well. Nick Castellanos has played really well It's the other guys that got to get in. Even Bryce Harper's been great since he came back, man. It's like he hasn't missed a beat. But they got to get everybody else on track. Obviously, got to get Ranger Suarez back to his normal self, right? He had a miserable showing the other night. But that's what it is. The guys on the team, it's fine if you have guys like Brandon Marsh be inconsistent, guys like Edmundo Sosa, these bottom of the lineup guys. But when you have your top guys being inconsistent, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, and then you can move over to the pitching staff with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola have to be that driving force with the pitching rotation, right? They have to do their part. Then everybody else can fall in line. And I think that's where I was about to say the Sixers. That's where the Phillies are right now. The top guys have to get it together, be consistent themselves. Then I think we'll see the team start to follow. I wanted to throw it to you, though. I wanted to ask you because I've seen some talk about it on Twitter. Rob Thompson, there's people out there that say he should lose his job.
Yeah, well,
I know that's a little unrealistic to do that back-to-back seasons mid-season. How do you feel about Rob Thompson right now? What are your thoughts on him?
People need to stop, man. Listen, Rob Thompson is not clear of criticism.
Yeah.
Rob Thompson definitely shares gets his fair share of blame around here. You know how I have felt about some of his bullpen decisions. You know how I felt about his lineup cards before Bryce returned and even now with Bryce. But let's stop acting like this team has not been plagued with injuries to start the year. Like, let's stop acting like Bryce Harper didn't return 2 weeks ago. Stop acting like they're not missing their first baseman and their backup first baseman. Let's stop doing that. Yeah. Can you be mad at him that he doesn't play, Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh against lefties as consistently? Can you be mad at him when you see Cody Clemens and Josh Harrison at the back end of the lineup in the same day? Yeah, for 100%. But man, they went, excuse my language, they went to the fucking World Series last year. They had a 2-1 lead in his first year. They just maybe they did just catch lightning in a bottle. But I'm going to believe that he had something to do with that. Maybe not a big role in it, but I would ponder that the manager had something to do with that World Series run. They're inconsistent. But I'll ask you this. Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Aaron Nola has had a 4.5 plus ERA all year? Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Taijuan Walker was brought in here on a 4-year deal and can't get through the third inning half of the time? He didn't get out of the first inning 2 starts ago. Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Bryce Harper missed the first month and a half and Rhys Hoskins is out for the year and his replacement went down a week into the season? Is it Rob Thompson's fault that Jose Alvarado's injured, that Andrew Painter and Ranger Suarez missed the first month and a half of the season? Let's stop acting like this is the complete project, the puzzle's put together, and Rob Thompson still can't figure things out. They are 2 games under 500. Is it extremely frustrating how inconsistent they are? Yes, I'm with you. They win 2 more. They're back to 500 before June starts. So let's relax. Let's stop with the Rob Thompson thing. If you've never liked Rob Thompson, which is just like, I don't know, it's kind of weird to me if you just never liked Rob Thompson. But if you never liked him, I understand it. Because you were never on board with it, so you wouldn't be on board with his, getting the interim removed and all that stuff. But again, Scotty, it goes back to what I just said about the over analyzing and overreacting to each and every game.
Yeah.
My friends, if we can't overreact to a basketball season game by game, you damn sure can't overreact to a baseball season. Do every games matter? Does every game matter? Yeah. But at the end of the year, those wins and losses will stack up just as equally in May as they will in October. They're right in the mix for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah. And you do have lights at the end of the tunnel. There are things that can get better. Nola and Wheeler really can't get worse, right?
Knock on wood, get worse.
Ranger can't get worse. He's only going to get better as he gets further removed from that injury. Bryce Harper is only going to get better. Trey Turner, right? He can only get better than what he is right now.
They can only get healthier, one would think, right?
Yeah, so there are lights at the end of the tunnel, right? You have Castellanos who's playing lights out right now. You have Bryson Stott who's playing lights out. There's things that you can look forward to. They just need to come sooner rather than later. That's the main thing,
I would
right?
say this. If there's one maybe too much of a positive that you could try to take away, too much light that you could take away. We said in the beginning of the season when they were like 0-3, 0-4, and they were playing the Yankees, and we were looking for that Scotty, that one big swing to switch the momentum around in this clubhouse. That Kyle Schwarber grand slam on Saturday afternoon in the first inning, maybe that was it. Maybe that's what gets it going. And if it wasn't that, maybe it was Rob Thompson. Here's a positive. Rob Thompson presses the right button, pinch hits Bryson Stott, 2-run home run for the win. You had two major swings in back-to-back games that should propel this team in a positive direction, energy-wise. Yeah. So we'll see, man. We'll see what the Phillies can continue to do. We'll be back Wednesday morning breaking it down. We'll be back Wednesday morning with a couple other things. Guys, if you watch the show every morning, if you like the show, obviously we greatly appreciate it. DM us, drop your comments, whatever you would like us to discuss on any show. If you have topics, it doesn't even have to be Philly sports related. It can be anything in the sports world. Drop it and we'll fit it into our segments and schedules. It's gonna be a long summer, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be here though.
Can't be on here talking about Phillies every single
day. We'll have to get our man Parcero on here. Talk some Union here soon.
Absolutely. Talk some Flyers, Jonesy, Danny Briere. Oh yeah, we got our Flyers fans.
Time to get creative.
That is going to wrap up this Monday edition of the Phaithful Fanatic Show. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter first at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. Check out the link tree in our bio. Subscribe to the DSM Media YouTube channel. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your Monday.
Happy Monday.